famous photograph ever taken in war. 6 men. 1 flag. But it was taken on day 5, of 36. When this was shot, most of the killing hadn't even started. 650 miles south of Tokyo, one volcanic island sat directly beneath the American bomber route to Japan. 8 square kilometers of ash, with 3 airstrips Japan used to hunt American bombers. Kuribayashi threw out the doctrine, no waterline defense, no suicide charges. Fight from inside the rock. From the south tip, Suribachi's guns fired the length of the beaches, every yard of sand prearranged in a killing crossfire. Before dawn on February 19, the largest fleet yet sent against Iwo Jima closed on the island, nearly 500 ships. 70,000 Marines waited in the transports for the run to the beach. 3 days of shellfire lit up the island, and barely dimmed. The garrison waited for the ground, almost untouched. 2 days before the landing, Navy frogmen swam in to serve the beaches. The Japanese mistook it for the invasion and opened fire. Every one of the 12 gunboats was hit, and 1 went down. But the guns that fired gave away their hidden positions, and were destroyed before D-Day. The beach itself was a trap. 15 feet of soft black ash, so loose the men sank to their knees. Jeeps, tanks, and Amtraks bogged down and stalled, and the waves behind them piled into the wreckage. 900. The first wave crossed the black sand, and for 20 minutes, it felt almost too easy. At 10 the flares went out, and every gun Kuribayashi opened at once. The beach turned to slaughter. Among the first ashore was Gunnery Sergeant John Basilone, the man who held the line. He silenced a blockhouse and led a tank through the minefield. Then a mortar round killed him where he stood. For every Marine who fell, a Navy Corpsman crawled out to reach him, through the very same fire. They pumped 12,600 pints of blood into the wounded and dragged 7,600 men back to the boats. The 28th Marines had one job: drive straight across the island's narrowest neck. By 10:35 they reached the west coast. Mount Suribachi was now cut off from the rest of the island. A bunker like this couldn't be shot open. It had to be opened, then blown shut with a satchel charge. Pillbox by pillbox, the Marines ground their way inland, the only way this island would ever fall. Rifles and shellfire barely scratched the concrete. What finally broke Iwo Jima was fire. 8 Sherman Zippos hosed 10,000 gallons of napalm a day into the caves, 120 meters at a reach. From the air, Iwo Jima looked nearly empty. Its real strength was hidden beneath the rock. Kuribayashi's engineers planned 28 kilometers of tunnel. 18 were finished, linking 1,500 rooms in the dark. On the morning of the 23rd, 40 men started up the volcano that had bled the beaches white. They braced for a last stand at the top. Instead, near silence. The defenders had pulled deep into the rock. The first flag went up at 10:20, but it was too small to see from the beaches below. So they raised a second, larger one. A passing photographer, Joe Rosenthal, caught it in a single frame, the most reproduced photo in history. The photograph made them immortal. The battle did not spare them. Of the 6 who raised that second flag, 3 never left the island, Strank and Block on March 1, Sousley 3 weeks later. With Suribachi behind them, the Marines turned north, into the worst ground on the island. Hill 382. Turkey Knob. The amphitheater. The Marines had one name for all of it, the meat grinder. When a strong wind happened, the Marines called down the fleet, 16-inch guns and cannon. Thousands of shells, 10,000 rockets, and rivers of napalm fell on 8 square miles of rock. Within weeks the captured strips were paved, and crippled B-29s limping home from Japan came down here. Over 2,200 landings were logged, a lifeline whose true toll in lives saved historians still debate. Turkey Knob was a reinforced concrete communications fortress, and it dominated the whole southern plateau. 8 tanks, 1,000 gallons of flame, and shell after 75 kilometer shell handling for days. It would not fall. On March 16, Iwo Jima was declared secure. For the men in the north, the fighting was far from over. In a gorge at the island's tip, Kuribayashi and the last of his garrison prepared to die where they stood. By late March, only the gorge remained, a warren of caves north of On March 21, engineers packed 4 tons of explosives into the command post and brought the roof down. By late March, the gorge was ringed with armor, a column of tanks grinding up into line, gun to cave mouth. On the signal the whole line opened fire, and the last strongholds were battered into silence. On the night of March 25, some 300 Japanese came down out of the dark toward Airfields. They hit the men who thought the battle was won, pilots, Seabees, engineers, asleep in their tents. By dawn it was over. Kuribayashi vanished somewhere in the north, his body was never found. From a cave at the island's northern tip, Kuribayashi radioed Tokyo one last time. The men under my command have fought so gallantly that even the gods would weep. Days later he led his survivors into the dark. His body was never found. 36 days. 8 square miles of ash and rock. Nearly 7,000 Americans were killed, almost the entire garrison of 21,000 Japanese died where they stood. Of all who fought here, Admiral Nimitz wrote, "Uncommon valor was a common virtue."